Games have always been at the forefront of controversy when it comes to violence. A lot of people are distrustful of games, as they believe they can inspire acts of violence in real life, and, while it's lessened considerably today, games still have this stigma surrounding them. There are lots of reasons as to why specific games can be so controversial. Perhaps the game lets you carry out violent acts. Maybe they have less than pleasing themes, or maybe they market themselves to the sexually depraved. But what if a game embraced its controversial elements? What if a game simply didn't give a shit about what people would think about it and just did whatever the hell it wanted, leading to multiple controversies and accusations of inspiring crime? Well, Postal 2 is that game. Postal 2 is a semi-open world sandbox first-person shooter with a heavy emphasis on letting the player run free in the town of Paradise and causing havoc to its citizens. It was developed by Running with Scissors, whose only game before Postal 2 was the original Postal. A grimy and dark twin-stick shooter where you play as the mentally deranged Postal Dude as you gun down hostiles and citizens in a murderous rampage before being locked up for your own sake. Now, while the original Postal was very dark in its themes and tones, Postal 2 disregards all of that and instead is almost a parody of the concept of the original game. Instead of Postal Dude monologuing to himself about how
only my weapon understands me,
Postal Dude now runs around pointing the middle finger to people, putting cats on shotguns, pissing on people, using decapitated heads to play fetch with the local dogs, smokes crack pipes for health, burns people alive, kills people if they don't sign his petition, kisses Gibbs, fights the Easter Bunny, works at the company that made his game, fights police, terrorists, zombies, PETA, mascots, and marching bands, and he pays for his milk. What makes Postal 2 so special is the fact that nearly everything I just mentioned there is completely optional, because in Postal 2, you do not have to kill anyone. You can play the game all the way to the end without firing a single bullet from your gun and be a complete pacifist. It's like the Undertale of first-person shooters, except Undertale never let you pee on people at the library. The thing with Postal 2 is that it's probably even more violent and sadistic than the original Postal, but they get away with it by making the violence optional, as it's all up to the player if they want to go through with it or not. It's like Running with Scissors took that one tweet the official Doom Twitter account made about how you control the buttons you press and made an entire game around that philosophy. It leads to a game that really tests you with how far you want to go. For example, the game takes place during an entire work week, Monday to Friday, and on Tuesday, the Postal Dude is presented with a marching band just outside his humble abode. Now, I can very clearly see a Molotov cocktail in my inventory right now, and if I threw it at the band, it would not only set them on fire, but it would also set the surrounding crowd on fire. But do I want to go through with it? I mean, the band isn't doing anything to me or obstructing me from my path. I could easily walk around them, and it would also ruin the crowd's day. I mean, watching a band burn alive is pretty scary, and this is where Postal 2 thrives, giving you these perfect scenarios littered throughout the game's semi-open world of Paradise that really questions just how violent you want to be in the game. Now, you're not completely aimless in this game. You do have tasks you need to do throughout the day, like buying milk, collecting your paycheck, returning a book, etc. Again, all of these tasks also present the player with more tests of their violent tendencies. For example, while you're buying milk, there is a pretty long line. Now, you could just wait patiently until it's your turn and safely purchase the milk with no problems whatsoever. Or you could pull out your shotgun and blow the heads off all the customers in your way, therefore enraging the cashier and locking the shop, where you then have to fight him and fight your way out of the shop just for some milk. Of course, not all these tasks provide you with options like these, and some do force you into combat sections against enemies. A good example is when you have to buy the fabled Crotchy doll. But terrible news! According to Crotchy himself, the doll is sold out. So you sneak into the back of the shop and find one Crotchy all by its lonesome. Immediately, the police are on you as you nab the doll, as you have to make your way back through the shop to reach the exit. As you leave the back rooms of the shop, you are then greeted by Crotchy, who pulls out a rocket launcher, triggering a boss fight. Even when you're forced into these combat sections in Postal 2, there are still ways of completely avoiding them though. If you let yourself get arrested by the police, you can easily pick up the Crotchy doll on your way out of escaping the prison, allowing you to skip the Crotchy boss fight entirely. It's truly up to the player with how they want to approach the game. As previously stated, the game takes place during an entire work week. This is not only a fairly unique way of splitting up an FPS campaign, but what also makes it unique is how the game's difficulty increases throughout the week. As you progress and more insane stuff happens to the town of Paradise, more hostile enemies will start appearing on the map, going from the police all the way to the military getting involved. This makes it harder for the player to do what they want, as you can easily be shot down in seconds, even if you slightly pee on a civilian. Though it isn't really an issue, as these guys only show up late into the game. It's essentially the game telling you to do the last few tasks to finish the game. Postal 2 is a very special game. I don't think we'll ever get a game like this ever again. It's so confident in itself with its controversial status, though other games that try something similar fail to meet the same level of quality. It's a trip of a game that I would highly recommend if you're interested. It's only a tenner on Steam, and even then it usually goes for a sale as little as 97 cents. This game is very much worth your time, and I'm excited to see what Running with Scissors has in store for the Postal series.